Om सर्वधर्मस्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्मस्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो Ramakrishna te namaha. We are studying Sri Ramakrishna, the Great Master, as the spiritual teacher, second part, and we are in the 6th chapter. And the name of the 6th chapter is The Story of Gopala's Mother, first part. And we understood that what is first part. In the Bengali, it is Purva Katha. That means the main description will be during the Ratha Yatra. So whatever has happened before that in Gopal Elna's life, that portion is here. What we call in English prologue and epilogue. So this is the prologue. That is Purva Katha. And we have read about her mistress of that place and Gopalarma and one more lady known to that mistress. The three had arrived. And Thakur had told that they were extremely devoted. Thakur named it two, very significant, because that third lady, some Kamini, that we do not meet afterwards. So Thakur said these two were extremely devoted. And everything about them is not artificial, simple, and yet beautiful. And that now we are coming to Agormani's characteristics previous. Para fifth, Agormani's devotion to the established rites and practices. Devotion, shall we say that? In Bengali, Nishtha, yes, I thought. Nishtha. What we should say? Steadfastness. Steadfastness is the correct word for Nishtha. Devotion is generally used for God only. So, this one has to understand a little in the modern context. There were child marriage, and unfortunately, sometimes the husband died. Then she will come back to father's house. And from then on, these child widows had two of my father's sisters in my house, so I knew them. They will live like a sannyasini. In many cases, in Maharashtra at least, shave their heads, put on red cloths, and were attached to Ramdasi Sampradaya. And used to visit that Ramdasi Mutt house. And very strict in their roots. Because otherwise, if they become little slack, society told them, then their mind will go for enjoyment, and that is barred from them now. Nobody even thought in India that a widow should remarry. Much later, the social reforms and all that took place. So, that was the condition. And now, some people may not have that much nishtha, but she had full nishtha in that. That shows her sadhana. Being a child widow, Agormani never knew the happiness of the company of a husband. Child widow. Women say the child widows are extremely meticulous about the observances of established rites and ceremonies. So much so that they wash even salt before using it. You understand? And if salt is washed, it will dissolve away. But touched by somebody. They should not. In this context, something about our practice has come to my mind. Anyway, let it go. We wash our plates every day, isn't it? Before food. Why? It is a remnant of caste system that the people who wash the plates, who have to put some water again and wash. Previously, if the clothes were given for washing in dhobi, washerman's plate, when they brought, they used to sprinkle water on that. So much so that they wash even salt before using it. Now, this may not be a fact also. This may be exaggeration also, but it tells the spirit. Bengali, the words are very slang. Jatni radi, noon tuku parenta dvekha. Agormoni too was such a one when she grew up, childhood. One day we know, example is being given, one day we know she cooked rice and was serving it from the cooking pot on the plate of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, when somehow or other the tiny stick with which rice is stirred in the pot was touched by him. Tiny stick. Mother katiti. Okay. By which it is the spoon practically by which the rice is taken out and served. Rice is not stirred, whatever it may be. So Thakur deliberately must have touched it. Huh? Translation? No, may not be wrong, I am telling. Because from Bengali, literally you do it really like that only. Bhater kati. Anyway, let us accept that. Somehow or other, the tiny stick with which rice is stirred in the pot was touched by him. Somehow or other. Agormani did not eat the remaining rice in the pot and threw even the stick into the Ganga. You understand this? Another very funny thing practiced here. Very, very funny. I have not seen anywhere in the Orthodox. Belur Mutt, if you do this, anyway. Our seating is such that there is no space between the wall and the bench. So the man who has to sit in the middle when he comes, somebody gets up. Getting up during meals is absolutely prohibited in any Orthodox Hindus. In Belur Mutt, I remember, we had a Darshan Maharaj in Chandigarh. When he had joined, so somebody knocked. So he got up. And everybody scolded him very badly. So while taking food, getting up and going back, absolutely prohibited. Now because we are in Advaita Ashram, so everything is all right. So, and I am telling you, these are small things, but they are very important. With those hands and that mouth, we should not move here and there. That is one side. And then they let it go. So Agurmani was extreme because of her nishtha for the practices, because they are helpful in spiritual life. Now he explained, because about Sri Ramakrishna, this happened when she had just begun visiting the master. Later on, her character is totally transformed. We shall see that. Now, another example. There were 2 or 3 hearths in the music room at Dakshineshwar. Ovens, chula, 2 or 3. It was late on many occasions before the offering of cooked rice and other services to Kali the mother were completed. Sometimes it would be 1:30. When the master was unwell and he had alimentary troubles, etc., almost daily. Alimentary means regarding stomach. And he had almost the supremely revered Holy Mother cooked for him a little rice and soup at an early hour. What is this soup? Jhor. You understand? Jhol is a kind of vegetable with a lot of watery juice and least masalas. That is jhol. The combination itself gives a taste. Anyway, I'll tell many stories about it. Calcutta people came to Belur Math for taking prasad. And they were so much impressed by the taste of the jhol. And the in charge, Swami, what was his name? Vikas Maharaj, Mahaprabhuji's disciple. He never cooked. He used to sit there, observe everything, or direct them. So, what masalas you put there? So they said we should ask Vikas Maharaj about it. And then Vikas Maharaj was asked. He said we don't put any masala. That means not zero masala, but ordinary your dhane jire was, that's all. The particular combination, the size, that is all important there. Anyway, so that jhol is called soup here. Holy Mother cooked for him a little rice and soup at an early hour. Dal and chapati were also prepared over these hearths for those devotees who spend their nights now and then with the master. So in the daytime they will take. The Holy Mother cooked food over those hearths for those ladies also, who came from Calcutta and other places to see the master and spent with her in that Naubat the whole day and sometimes the night also. So now we have gas burner with 2 openings. So like that 2 or 3 are there so that a lot of food can be cooked simultaneously. On that day when Agormani or the Brahmani of Kamarati, as the master called her in the beginning, came to visit him, the Holy Mother had to purify the earth thrice with cow dung. You have washed everything. Then apply cow dung. Again apply. Then it is pure. Cow dung, Ganga water, etc. Before the Brahmani would condescend to put her cooking pot over it, then Brahman will use. Because it has been used for other people. That is the meticulousness. She lived in Govinda Babu's temple and practiced penances. Austerities, penances, same thing. Penances, is it not like prayaschitta? Tapasya. Okay, accept that. But austerities would be better. Penances means, anyway, specific things. The Brahmani of Kamarati again was very sensitive from her childhood. What is sensitive? Anyway, we'll see that. Sensitive is a particular English word. She could not at all put up with any uncharitable remark by anybody, let alone her supplicating anybody for pecuniary help. Both sides. Abhimanini. Sensitive is this meaning which has been explained by the behavior. Besides, Abhimanini should not beg money. Besides, as soon as she saw anybody doing anything wrong, she felt no hesitation in telling him of it to his very face. Other side. This is not sentiment or sensitive. Outspokenness. So she could not get on well with anyone. That is the main thing. The room given her by the mistress to live in was situated in the extreme south of the garden. One could have a good view of the Ganga through the three southern windows of the room, which had two doors in the north and the west. Windows, doors north and west, and south side three windows that face the Ganga. The Brahmani sat in that room, observed the Ganga float by, and performed japa night and day. She thus spent 30 years in that room in weal and woe before she met Sri Ramakrishna for the first time. 30 years. Child widow. The Brahmani's father's family were perhaps Shakta, that is the worshippers of God as the mother of the universe. We do not know what the faith of her father-in-law's family was, but she was herself a follower of Vishnu and was initiated by her guru in the mantra of Gopal, God in the form of the child Krishna. Her close relation with the mistress also perhaps was responsible for it, but they were all Vaishnavas. For the Guru family of Govinda Babu were the Goswamis of Malpada who were worshippers of Krishna. Their Guru family and Purohita family different. And one or two of them very often lived at Kamareti, since the temple had been built there. So Purohit, same family. But it is difficult to decide how Agormani had such unswerving motherly love for God and how she had the desire of worshipping him as her son in the form of Gopala. Though she, being a child widow, had no experience whatever in this life of how a mother felt for her child. So what is the explanation? Many will say it was due to her previous birth and past impressions. Anyway, her devotion was a fact. She had no experience of her child. So how she loves God as her child? Her Purva Sanskara. You cannot go against your Purva Sanskara. That means bad sanskaras have to be conquered. But this sanskara is spiritual. You cannot change that. You have to follow that path. Different expressions and manifestations of spirituality in the woman of the East and the West. Now, Western readers or today's modern readers, they feel spirituality in a different way. Whenever there arises an urge for religion in the woman of England or America as a result of suffering in the world or for some other reason, not naturally, it gets manifested through gifts, doing good to others, or the service of the poor and the suffering humanity. Generally, there is a joke like that. that we feel religious. They are sitting in a group and we feel religious. So somebody takes hat and starts collecting subscription. It becomes their only aim to do good to people day and night. That much religion. Unselfishness. The reverse is the case in our country. Here, this piety gets manifested through the observance of strict continence, the practice of austerities, the observance of established rites and ceremonies, the counting of beads, etc., which at last becoming the end and aim of their lives, lead them on to ever greater inwardness and renunciation of the world. So that is inwardness toward the God. And world is renounced. So that is the Indian method. The idea that the realization of God is the end and aim of human life and that therein lies the real abiding peace has surcharged the atmosphere of India and has entered the very marrow of men and women here. Therefore, the life in solitude, together with the practice of austerity on the part of the Brahmani of Kamarati, though a matter of surprise for the people of other countries, is nothing unusual in this country. Now, the modern influence of the Western, many people are very surprised. The Brahmani of Kamarati felt great attraction for Sri Ramakrishna after some stars. That means new phase now. This was the background. And she came to Thakur. The Brahmani of Kamarati felt great attraction for Sri Ramakrishna since the day she had first met him. But why it was so and how far-reaching it was to be, she had no idea. She felt an indescribable attraction for him. But her conception of him did not go beyond what she said. Then he is a very good man, a real monk and devotee. I will come to him again as soon as I get time. The mistress also felt similarly. But perhaps she never came again. Lest society should think ill of her. Besides, she had to spend much time at her Pataldanga house on account of her daughters and sons-in-law. Dakshineshwar was far from there, and if she were to come, she had to inform all and make necessary arrangements. So social obligations, though inside she also had the same spirit. So there was not much possibility of her coming to Dakshineshwar again. Our money met the master a second time. The Brahmani had no such difficulty. Therefore, a few days after her first visit, as soon as a desire to come to master arose in her while she was performing japa, she is doing japa. And at that time, the desire arose to come to him. She suddenly came to Dakshineshwar with 2 or 3 pies worth of sandesh of inferior quality. Sandesh you know, but all readers may not know, will not know at all. If they hear sandesh, what they understand, message. So sandesh is a Bengali sweet made of paneer or chana. In English, cheese, fresh cottage cheese, that is paneer, and sugar. When they are mixed, that's all. That is sandesh. Sandesh of inferior quality. No sooner had the master seen her than he cried out saying, "Oh, you have come. Give me what you have brought for me." Gopala's mother says, "I shrank within myself at having to bring out that bad sandesh, seeing that so many people brought so many good things and fed him. Besides, imagine, scarcely had I arrived when he wanted to eat that worthless stuff." As she could not say anything out of fear and shame, she brought out that sandesh and gave it to him. The master also ate it with great pleasure and said while eating it, "Why do you spend money and bring sandesh? Prepare and keep coconut balls, coconut laddus, and bring one or two when you come. Or bring whatever you cook with your own hand. Be a chachadi of the creepers and leaves of bottle gourd." Chachadi, you understand? Generally, these leafy vegetables with some potatoes, that is the normal constitution of a chachadi. Creepers and leaves of bottle gourd. That means not proper shack also. Huh? You bring out from that creeper or bottle gourd. Or the curry prepared with legume of drumsticks mixed with potato brinjals and balls of the paste of pulses. What is the name in Bengali? Tarkari. Hmm. Tarkari. আলু বেগুন বড়ি দিয়ে সজনে খাড়ার তরকারি. He has translated literally. Cooked by you. Gopala's mother says there was no talk of religion and pious topics, but only of eating. I thought I have come to see a strange sadhu who talks of eating and eating only. I am a poor indigent person. How can I feed him so much? Leave him alone. I won't come again. But as soon as I crossed the door frame of the gate of the Dakshineshwar garden for going back, he was as it were pulling me from behind. I could proceed no further. I consoled my mind in various ways and dragged it back, so to say, to Kamarati. Just a few days after, the Brahmani walked 3 miles with chachadi in her hand to see Paramahamsa. Irresistible force of Thakur's words. Who will carry chachadi from the house? As soon as she came, the master asked for it as before, ate it and expressed joy, saying, "Ah, how beautifully cooked. It is as were nectar, the very nectar." Gopala's mother's eyes were filled with tears to see their joy of the master. She thought that as she was a poor indigent woman, the master was praising that ordinary stuff of her. In this way, her visits to the so that is God consciousness will arise in her. In this way, her visits to Dakshineshwar became more and more frequent for 2 or 3 months. Thenceforward, she used to bring whatever of the dishes cooked by her was found tasty, all the way from Kamarati to Dakshineshwar. The master also ate it with relish. Again, he asked her to bring some ordinary thing, such as a preparation of sushni herb. This is a shark which grows along water somewhere. Or chachadi of bindweed and so on. Bindweed? English translation exact. Sushni shak chachadi, kalmi shak chachadi. Bindweed is kalmi shak. So naturally grown things, they are not costly leafy vegetables. Troubled with the request, bring this, bring that, and the frequent repetition of I want to eat this, I want to eat that. Gopala's mother would think now and then, Gopala, is this the result of my meditation on you? You have brought me to a sadhu who wants only to eat. I will never come anymore. But there, that irresistible attraction again. When and how soon shall I go again? The master came to Govinda Babu's garden. They had invited him. In the meantime, Sri Ramakrishna came once to Govinda Babu's garden at Kamarati and expressed great joy to see the service, etc. of the holy images there. On that occasion, he sang song before the images there. He then took food and returned to Dakshineshwar. Seeing his wonderful ecstasy at the time of singing, the mistress and others were greatly charmed. But it is very difficult to say whether the Venerable Goswamis did not feel a little jealousy and hatred lest they should lose their influence. You understand? Their priests, they felt jealousy. We are told that this was what actually happened. It was a long-standing practice with the Brahmani of Kamarati to rise at 2 in the morning. It is called morning, huh? Finish her ablutions and sit down for japa at 3. So before 3, she finishes everything and sits for it. She finished performing japa by 8 or 9. 3 to 8 or 9. When she bathed, paid a visit to the holy images, and joined in the service of the temple according to her capacity. Afterwards, when the food offering to the holy images was over, she engaged herself in cooking her own food at 12 noon. As soon as she had taken a little rest after her meal, she sat for japa again. She witnessed the evening arati. That means maybe 3 o'clock in the up to evening arati. Spent much of the night in japa and took a little milk before going to bed for a few hours. Night food only milk. The humor of wind was prevalent in her constitution by nature. Kapha Pitta Marut. So that Marut, Vayu, that these three make our body according to Ayurveda. Ayurveda tells us 3 things make our body. Kapha Pitta Marut or Vayu. Now that Vayu is more. That is what is the abnormal. So she had only a little sleep. That does not allow one to sleep. Sometimes she had palpitation of heart and an indescribable uneasy sensation, that wind rising, so it presses the heart. When the master was told of it, he said, that humor of wind of yours is due to your meditation on Hari. If that be cured, what will be the support of your life? That means it is associated with the spiritual rising. So one should not take medical treatment for its cure, because the devotion also will vanish. Please eat something whenever you feel like that. That is the medicine. In some other places I have read, eat something sweet. Or they keep sugar candy syrup, Mishripana, and they drink it. Now we come to the incident. It was 1884. The winter was over and the pleasant spring abounding in flowers arrived. Vasant. First she came to Thakur in Margashir and then Vasant. These two are special, you know. Gita 10 chapter Vibhuti Yoga. Masa Nam Margashirshom. Rutu Nam Kusumakara. So those two have come. Full of leaves, flowers and song. Parading is the state of Agurmani when she had the vision of the divine form of Gopal. The earth was experiencing an awakening. A sort of madness and hilarity was there in the air. You know the description of Vasanta Ritu? What do you know about Vasanta Ritu? East, west, everywhere. Holi festival. Pag means the whole Falgun. In the Western world, Valentine's Day. All these occur during Vasanta Ritu. So a sort of madness and hilarity was there in the air. Hilarity means light-heartedness. Madness, intoxication of nature, because it abounds in flowers. Dhaneshwar Maharaj has called Guru as Vasanta. Upaya Vana Vasanta. Upaya means your sadhana for God. Suppose it is a forest. But the flowers and fruits will come only in Vasanta. So only when you meet your Guru, your sadhana will successful. That is what the simile given by him. And that is going to happen in Gopala's mother's life. In that joy and inebriation of nature, there was no difference of good and bad. You understood? That means the spiritual people will feel spiritual joy, ordinary people will feel ordinary joy. Joy is joy. Which was observable in the propensities of the jivas, according to their impressions. Expressions of nature are the same, though in common parlance we say the virtuous are awake to the good suggestions of nature and the vicious to the wife. That is the difference. I will tell something about it. One gentleman, Hiranmaya Datta or Maharaj's Sevak, Maharaj walking in the veranda and he used to raise some topic. So he said, when the sun rises, people go about righteous activities. And when the moon rises, people go about bad activities. Maharaj said, what you are talking? When the moon rises, then only yogis meditate. So you understood now? Yogis meditate, thieves steal in the night. So night is night, but according to propensity is there. I will tell you a Bengali couplet. Note down. Prathama charane rogi jage. Dvitiya charane bhogi. Tritiya charane chor jage. Chaturtha charane yogi. This is the description of the night. Prathama charane rogi jage. If you have any sickness, you will find. As soon as the night comes, all come. Terrible pain, this, that. They can't sleep. Dvitiya charane bhogi. Those who have sexual enjoyment, when the night comes fully, then they enjoy. Tritiya charane chor jage. When everybody has slept after midnight, the thieves go about. Chaturtha charane yogi. So yogis have to get up one prayer before sunrise and meditate. Brahma Murti. That is the Bengali couplet. During this time of the year, one morning at 3, the Brahmani of Kamarati sat for Japa. Japa finished, she began to perform pranayama before offering the result of the japa to her chosen idea. That is the ritual. Japa is over, do a pranayama and offer your japa to the Ishta. When she saw that Sri Ramakrishna was sitting near her to the left of the palm of his right, to the left, sitting near her to her left, and the palm of his right hand looked half clenched. She saw him now as live and distinct as she usually saw him at Dakshineshwar. She thought, what is this? How and whence has he come here at such an hour? Gopala's mother says, I was looking at him with astonishment and thinking thus, while Gopala, as she called Sri Ramakrishna, sat and smiled. Then with a beating heart, as soon as I caught hold of Gopala's left hand, Sri Ramakrishna's left hand, she is catching. Left hand with mine, that figure vanished into the void. And a 10th-month-old real Gopala, as though of flesh and blood, as big as that, indicating the size with her hands, came out of that figure. And oh, the beauty of it! Crawling with one of his hands raised, he looked at my face and said to me, Mother, give me butter. I was overwhelmed with that experience. That was a strange affair. I cried out loudly, and that was not an ordinary cry. There were no people in the house. They would have otherwise assembled there. Strangeness. I wept and said, my child, I am a miserable indigent woman. What should I feed you with? Where shall I get butter and milk, my child? But did that strange Gopala give ear to that? He only went on saying, give me something to eat. Thakur is asking for it. No? Now the connection will come in our mind. What could I do? I got a weeping, took down a dry ball of coconut, Thakur had told her, from a hanging rope loop. Understand? What do you call it? In English? Anyway. They hang it from the wall, from the roof, so that save the space on the floor. And they keep things in that, food especially. From a hanging rope loop and placing it on his hand said, Gopal, my child, though I give you these worthless things to eat, don't you give me such food to eat. So she has lost herself in the bhav. And that Gopal is very real to her. In that state, she came to the master at Dakshineshwar. Then as regards japa, how could I perform that? Gopala came, sat on my lap and snatched away the rosary. He rode on my shoulder and crawled all round the room. As soon as it was dawn, I started for Dakshineshwar. Running like one mad, Gopala climbed on my lap and rested his head on my shoulder. I caught hold of him on my breast with one hand on his buttocks and the other on his back and covered the whole journey. The two purple feet of Gopala I saw clearly were dangling on my breast. Inebriated with an intense love of God on account of the attainment of the vision of her own chosen ideal, Agormani came walking from the Kamarati garden to the master at Dakshineshwar early in the morning. When another woman devotee known to us, Yoginmai, was also present there. We shall now tell the reader what we heard from her. She said, I was then sweeping and cleaning the master's room. It was morning about 7 or 7:30. When I heard someone outside crying, Gopal, Gopal, and coming toward the master's room. The voice was a known one, and it began gradually to come nearer. I looked and found it was Gopala's mother. She was not properly dressed and looked like one mad, with the two eyes gone up to the forehead, as it were, sweeping the ground with the skirt of the cloth she was wearing, as if she took notice of nothing. She entered the master's room in that state through the eastern door. The master was then sitting on his small bedstead within the room. That is the description of master's room. Big bedstead for sleeping. No chair or such thing. So the small bedsteads were for sitting. Seeing Gopala's mother in that condition, I was completely surprised. The master entered into ecstasy on seeing her. Gopala's mother in the meantime came and sat down near him, and like a boy, the master went and sat on her lap. Both her eyes were then shedding tears copiously, and she fed the master with her own hand with the cream, butter, and thickened milk she had brought with her. I was flabbergasted to see, for I never before saw the master in bhav touch any woman. Though I heard that the Brahmani, the master's guru, assumed sometime the attitude of Yashoda and the master in the attitude of Gopala sat on her lap. She had heard. I was, however, completely astounded to see that state of Gopala's mother and the master's mood. A little later, that mood of the master came to an end, and he got up and sat on his bedstead. But that mental state of Gopala's mother would not come to an end. Beside herself with joy, she stood up and walked dancing round the whole room, saying like one mad, Brahma dances, Vishnu dances, and so on. The master saw it, smiled and said to me, just see, she is completely filled with bliss. Her mind has now gone to the sphere of Gopal. Gopal, look, though physically present in master's room. Gopala's mother had indeed such visions while in bhava, and she became a different person as it were. On another occasion, that lady is continuing, huh? On another occasion, at the time of taking her meal, overwhelmed with spiritual emotions and thinking that we were so many Gopalas, this Gopal darshan becomes universalized. She fed us with rice with her own hand. As I had not married my daughter to a person of a family equal in rank with our, all those customs. She hated me a little in her mind. How much humility she expressed for that on that occasion. So change, transform. She said, did I know before that you have so much faith and devotion in you? Gopala can touch almost none at the time of bhava. And today he sat while in bhava on your back. Gopala's mother is telling you, are you an ordinary person? No, Saradananda Swamiji is adding, the master in fact was suddenly in bhav to see Gopala's mother that day, and at first sat on the back of that lady and afterwards on the lap of Gopala's mother for some time. People say Thakur never touched woman. She arrived at Dakshineshwar that day. So for these ladies, Thakur is God only, nothing. And his whole behavior is like God. He appears and becomes Krishna. And with Krishna she comes. She arrived at Dakshineshwar that day in that state and said many things to Sri Ramakrishna, shedding profuse tears in the exuberance of Bhava. She said, "There is Gopala here on my lap. There it enters into your body. There it comes out again. Come, my child, come to the lap of your miserable mother," and so on. She saw the restless Gopala, sometimes vanishing into the person of the master, and sometimes again coming to her in the bright form of a boy. There was no end to his childish play and prank. She was drowned in that surge of emotion. She forgot all her austere rules and regulations. She had thrown away that spoon. Now she is feeding Thakur himself. All her regard for the established rites and ceremonies was washed away. Who can control oneself when submerged in the tidal wave of love? That leads to this. The master praised that state, describing it as harp to a tale. He pacified her. From that day, Agormani became Gopala's mother in the real sense of the term. And the master began to call her by that name. Till then, he used to call Kamaratir Brahmani. Name was Agormani. But because she saw Gopal, so she became Gopal's mother. Sri Ramakrishna expressed great joy to see that extraordinary state of Gopala's mother. He passed his hand over her heart in order to pass. That was Thakur's method. So all the vision and exuberance will go inside. He fed her with whatever good things were available there. Even while eating, the Brahmani under the influence of Baba said, "Gopal, my child, your miserable mother has spent her time in this life in great misery. She earned a miserable living by selling sacred thread spun by her with the help of a spindle." Spindle, you know, how you take machines are there now. How cloth was made. The big instrument is called charka, spinning wheel. But a smaller version is called spindle, takli. You will see Mahatma Gandhi's photo many times. So on that takli, you put that cotton and draw it like that and move it like that. That is how the thread comes out. Now she is not making cloth from that, but our sacred thread is made from that. So she used to make and sell. That is how she earned a little money. She is still. Is this why you are taking so much care of her today? And so on. The master made her stay for the whole day with him. She took her bath and food there. He pacified her a little and sent her to Kamarati a little before sunset. Gopal, seen in Bhav, was on her lap and accompanied her as before on her way back to Kamarati. When she returned home, Gopal's mother sat for japa according to her previous habit. But could she perform it? For he, the very object for whose sake she prayed, counted beads and passed days and nights in meditation, was before her, playing, frolicking, importunity. At last the Brahmani got up and lay on her bedstead with Gopal beside her. The Brahmani had for her bed whatever she could get. She had not got even a pillow to rest her head on. But she had no peace even though she lay, for Gopal was grumbling. Having no other course left open, the Brahmani placed Gopala's head on her left arm and making him lie near her bosom, consoled him thus, "My child, sleep this way tonight. As soon as it is morning, I will go to Calcutta and ask Bhuto, you remember, the eldest daughter of the mistress, to make for you a soft pillow with cotton cleared of seeds and so on. We already said that Gopala's mother cooked her food with her own hand and feeding Gopala mentally previously used to take prasad herself. The following day she went to the garden to collect dry wood to cook early and feed Gopala's person. She saw Gopal also coming with her, collecting wood and piling it in the kitchen. Thus did mother and son collect wood, and then the cooking began. At the time of cooking also, the naughty Gopala began to see everything, sometimes sitting beside her and sometimes riding on her back. It said many things and importuned her for many things. The Brahmani now pacified it with sweet words, now scolded it. Gopala's mother came to Dakshineshwar once a few days after the aforesaid event had happened. She saw the master and went to the Nawabat where the Holy Mother lived and sat for japa. Finishing the usual number of japa and making salutation, she was going to get up when she found that master had come there from the Panchavati. When the master saw Gopala's mother, he said, "Why do you perform so much japa now? You have achieved much." Indeed. Gopala's mother, "Shall I not perform japa? Have I attained everything?" The para-heading, the master said to Gopala's mother, "You have attained everything." The master, "Yes, you have attained everything." Gopala's mother, "Everything?" The master, "Yes, everything." Gopala's mother, "What do you say? Have I attained everything?" The master, "Yes, everything." Performance of japa, practicing penance, etc. for yourself have been finished. But you may do these things if you like for this body, so that it may keep well. You understand? Japa done with desire. Desire not for herself, desire for God. So by doing her japa, master should keep good health. So total transformation. No need of japa. But the habit is there. So change the attitude for japa. Don't do for your progress. Do it for master's body to keep all right. Gopala's mother. Then whatever I do from now is yours, yours, yours. Mentioning this event, Gopala's mother said to us now and then, hearing these words of Gopala that day, I threw into Ganga everything, the rosary bag, etc. I then performed japa on the fingers for the good of Gopal. No need of counting. Japa on the fingers means counting on the fingers instead of mala. Long afterwards, I began to use a rosary again. I thought, must I not do something? What shall I be doing all the 24 hours? I therefore count the beads for Gopala's good. From now on, Gopala's mother, japa, penance, etc. came to an end. Visits to Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar became more frequent. The established practices and religious rites also, which she had observed so long in respect of her food, etc., were washed away gradually by the wave of Bhava. Gopala occupied her mind and heart completely, and there was no limit to the ways how he taught her. And how could she preserve intact that unswerving routine of hers? For Gopala wanted to eat at any time, and he thrust into his mother's mouth whatever he ate. Could that be rejected? Moreover, he wept if that was rejected. Since she was incessantly floating on that extraordinary wave of bhava, the Brahmani knew that it was the play of none else but Sri Ram, and that it was none but he who was her Sri Krishna in the form of Gopal. Black like a newly formed cloud and having eyes like the petals of a blue lotus. Krishna's Varna. She therefore cooked for him fed him and had no hesitation in eating his prasad. Thus did the Brahmani of Kamara. Time is over. We'll read one paragraph. Thus did the Brahmani of Kamarati live continuously for 2 months with Sri Krishna in the form of Gopal, whom she placed now on her breast, now on her back. It indeed falls to the lot of rare, fortunate ones to enjoy such an unbroken surge of bhava for such a long period. And the realization and vision of pure consciousness, condensed and vivified into the divine name, divine abode, and the divine Lord. Abode means Swarupa, and the divine Lord. Motherly love for God is in itself rare in the world. How much more rare it may be easily inferred is the vision of the divine Lord through that love, condensed as it were, with the help of unprecedented devotion. There is the saying, Mother Kali is awake in Kali Yuga, Gopal is awake in Kali Yuga. This is perhaps why the vivid and glowing realization of these two forms of the divine order sometimes met with even now. Sri Ramakrishna said to Gopala's mother, you have achieved much. The body cannot continue in the Kali Yuga if such a state persists for a long time. It was, it seemed, the master's wish that the body, purified by bhava of this poor Brahmani, a bright example of motherly love for God, might live for some time more in this world for the good of humanity. After the lapse of the 2 months mentioned above, the vision, etc., experienced by Gopala's mother became a great deal rarer than before. But she was having that vision as before, whenever she sat quite a little and meditated. That is the Gopala's mother's story. Purva Katha. Om Sarvadharma Stapakasvam Sarvadharma Swarupaka Acharyanam Acharyo Ramakrishna Te Namaha. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.